What are some practical tools? I love checklists because checklists help to guide us on things that we're supposed to remember but might be forgotten because of the action happening at the time or the deadlines that are imminent or all of the other things we have to deal with. It sometimes means the things that we're supposed to do or things that we hope to do fall by the wayside. So I'm going to give you some examples of checklists. These are not absolute, as in they are not the final or the only answer. They can be tweaked, they can be adjusted, they can be added to, or you can create something completely your own. It just depends on what types of things you want to remember and what you think you need to be reminded about. So let's have a look at some options. So this is a nice guide for individual students, and you can print a few of these and keep them and then just take them out. And as you can see, it's quite small, so you can print a few on a page and cut them out because obviously we know resources are limited. So you can have this available, and when you start to see something with a kid happening in your class, with a student happening in your class, you can write the name or write the name in code, whatever is easy for you and whatever you think will be confidential, because of course we don't want this to fall into the hands of anybody, especially children, either that child themselves or another child, because this needs to be kept confidential. So look at things like observing the behavior. Is the behavior sudden or ongoing? Does it happen between certain times? So is it, you can have a list there for yourself, transition times, test times, I see this behavior happening. And then obviously all of the other things. There's some prompts here for empathic listening, so it's a quick guide. And then reflecting and planning, because in that moment you might have an idea that you'll forget later. So it's good to add this here. And then keep this in a particular file or box or whatever the case is for you to refer to later on. So when you're writing reports, when you need to discuss it with the school counselor, for example, or the parent, you have this available and you are able to then very quickly give them the feedback that you are hoping to give. There's another simple tool I like. It's just a template. You can obviously tweak it according to your needs, but having them printed out as well, that you can write on every day what went well for that day, what were the challenges. Obviously, you can make these columns a little larger, or you can even have it on your computer, so it's easier for you to adjust the size of the columns and rows. And you can then write what went well for that day, what were the challenges, particular learner needs. So that you found that perhaps Mariam seemed to be struggling during sessions, or Amber had a challenge in whatever class it was, whatever the case is, and then possible next steps that you can institute within that classroom or for that particular learner. So you can actually have an idea of what happened within your week at a glance when you look at this template or this document. And you can also pick up trends. So you notice that on Mondays, when you look at Amber on a Monday, every Monday she seems to have this particular behavior. Or on Monday and Thursday and Wednesday, you notice that Mariam did the same particular thing after break. So it's easy for you to pick up trends because, again, like I say, we have so much to do, so many deadlines, so much admin, that sometimes these things, although they are constant or they're happening regularly, you forget to pick them up or you forget to note them because you have so many things that you need to be focusing on. So this is a great tool. You can use it on your laptop, as I said, or you can have it printed and then just complete them every day when you can. Another really awesome tool is a teacher reflection journal. So remember, you can have this presented in any manner or format that you prefer, but these are some questions that you can have instituted. You can have them printed in your journal as a prompt, or you can have it little pieces of paper printed for yourself. You could have them on your laptop, as I say. Just looking at things like understanding the learner behavior. What behavior stood out for you? What could it be communicating? Go with your gut, your educated gut. Remember, that's an important one. How did the learner appear? Were there any signs and symptoms, or signs rather, of stress or trauma? We're going to learn a lot more about trauma in the next videos, but just things that you picked up. I also like the teacher self-reflection part. How did I feel in this moment? So start to pick up trends with yourself. What do I respond to? What do I find difficult to deal with? What can I do differently next time? And also, I like to add can I, find a colleague that can assist me to deal with this particular challenge that I'm finding in myself when I'm dealing with this behavior from this child, or when I see this symptom coming up. So it's always good for you to also have a mentor or a peer who you can reflect with when you notice these things. And also, I also love to have focus on strengths. Which strengths did I notice in this learner? Maybe that's a compliment that you can give them, that they would feel, okay, my teacher is noticing me, they're picking this up for me. How do you build on those strengths for them so that they can develop perhaps leadership skills if you see that they have a strength in that area? We want to also build our learners up, build up their confidence. This is important for connecting with your learner and for helping them to feel like you are on their side. And of course, this will impact the classroom, general classroom interaction. Okay, so when do you refer? That's an important question. Some instances are a bit more cut and dry. Where you can tell yourself, I definitely need to refer, I definitely need to report. And so if a child is reporting to you that someone is abusing them, if there has been any sexual abuse indicated, physical abuse indicated, emotional, whatever the case is, and you can see that something is going on. If you notice that they are neglected, that they never have any lunch with them to school, but that the is resources, or there are resources rather at home, but the child has never come with anything to eat. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you must refer to the school counselor, but you can start a conversation of, is everything okay? And then if you feel like it veers into, okay, I shouldn't be interacting as deeply because there's a lot more going on, maybe I'll get the school counselor involved, or at least I'll seek counsel from someone who might have more information or better suited to deal with the situation. So we need to be discerning between what is a definite report and when do I need to first, when there's a little bit more investigation take place, not necessarily by me as a teacher, but perhaps we should look into this. Sometimes kids don't have food at school because they keep leaving their lunchbox or they don't want to bring food to school. That's a different conversation. But neglect obviously needs a little bit of investigation because it's important for us to make sure that the child is being well taken care of. If you notice that there's a sudden change in the child and it persists for 2 weeks or more, it's something completely different to what you expected, even if it's a new child. If this new child is persistently showing you for 2 weeks or more that there is some kind of, they're looking very withdrawn, very sad, something is going on, they're jumpy, it's a good chance for you to refer because you might not want to have that in-depth conversation with the whole class, there as well. If you notice that whatever they are going through is interfering with their learning, they are so anxious that they can't concentrate, they can't lift their head from the table, they just look like there's no energy, there's no interaction, there is absolutely no ability to learn. It's important for you then to take action. If a learner expresses to you that they're very scared or they just don't feel like they can cope, I can't do this anymore, that kind of language, then we refer. And remember, it's important and vital for us to make a note of what the child says and then refer appropriately. Do not sit on it for a long time, hoping and thinking, oh, things might change. It might be that is the call to action that you need and to take next steps as soon as possible. If there are any concerns about safety, self-harm, or severe withdrawal. So the severe withdrawal, you're seeing that they're completely socially isolated, not talking to you or anyone else, that there are whispers either from the students or the child themselves talking to you about it, that they might want to harm themselves or they are fearful of their safety. We children say, there's someone waiting outside for the child and they have a weapon or the family is hurting the child. Whatever the case is, that is the time when necessary steps must be taken. It is important for you to know that when you refer the child, that you, of course, walk alongside the process, but you might not be privy to all the information that comes out of that session, and you need to be okay with that. You need to know that sometimes, in some circumstances, we have to advocate for that child and make sure that they receive the support that they need. And we also need to know that sometimes the outcomes can be quite difficult to manage because it means that there are social workers getting involved, the family dynamic can change, and kids might be quite angry with you about that. But remember, their safety is of utmost importance. With that, I also want to note, don't blow up situations unnecessarily. That is why it's always important to get as much advice as you can. Make sure that you are not overstepping your boundaries and that no one else is as well, because we don't want to suppose that there's a situation going on and we misinterpret and then the child and their family are poorly or badly affected. So do seek counsel in this regard. Find out from people that are more maybe equipped to deal with situations like that or have more experience. Early referral improves outcomes and we can do our best to support that child to deal or get out of the situation they are finding themselves in. It's very important for you to remember that your reflections, your notes, the things that you pick up are extremely important. You spend most of your time with learners, and they probably spend more time with you than they do with most adults in their lives. What you see, what you pick up is really important and can be the difference between the child being able to get the support or accessing the services that they need as early as possible and in the way that is best suited for their situation. Don't underestimate your observations. Don't underestimate the part that you play in that child's life, and make notes as much as you can. Even if you don't use all of them, note down things, pay attention, observe what is happening in the class, observe interactions, observe behavior. This is very important, as much as it is important for you to lesson plan and ensure that the learner is developing the necessary skills that they have for that stage in their development. It's really important that you also pay attention to the behavior that is being displayed in your classroom. You don't need to know everything. That's a given in any circumstance. You do not need to know everything, but your intent and your willingness to be there, that is enough. Being present, being warm, being available, being a trusted adult is what many children need and what many children don't have in their lives. So if you can play that role, then the battle is well won. If you have any questions, any comments, anything that you'd like to add, please feel free to email me, and I'll see you in the next video.